Yeah.
Georgia, the ARAG was not attached to the packet. So is it all right if I send it to the?
Absolutely.
Are you ready? I thought I sent it separately.
You know what I'm saying?
There was a lot of attachments.
Is it ready?
Should get it.
All right, it's 6:30. I'm gonna call the meeting to order, but before I do, I would like to make some housekeeping comments. If you could ask to be, before you speak or have a question, just ask to be recognized first. That'd be great. So 2.0, prayer. Really?
Let's pray. Lord God Almighty, thank you for the opportunity to once again come before you and serve the people of Stephenson County, the people who work and live at the Stephenson Nursing Center. And as I contemplate your goodness to me personally, I just pray that you would help us all make good decisions, treat each other respectfully, and be mindful of the work that we have to do here and its purpose, and to seek the best result that we can for the folks that work and live at Stephenson Nursing Center, and all to your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
3.0, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
And Mr. Whalen, do I have a second? Second. And Mr. Meester. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.0, review and approval of meeting minutes from April 11th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
And Mr. Bush, do I have a second?
I will second that.
And Mr. Whalen, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5.0, approval of claims totaling in the amount of cash requirements and manuals of $220,861.60. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And Mr. Hadley, do I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Whalen, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 4-1. 6.0, public comment. Please? No, all right. Moving on, 7.0, reports to committee. Adrian is on the phone because we have a COVID outbreak and she was with the employee yesterday, so she is calling in. So Adrian, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening. Okay, so today our census is 50. We have one person in the hospital, 7 skilled and 1 hospice patient and 1 private pay patient. As far as new hires, the month of April, we hired 2 activity aides, 1 housekeeper, 1 CNA, and 1 nurse. That might have been the end of April, beginning of May. As far as terms, we have 1 term, 1 activity aid. As IDPH outstanding issues, we did have public health in the building last week. Seems like yesterday, but it was last week. We had 1 for a complaint, no findings, and another 1 for reportables. And I do have to write a plan of correction for that. There was no abuse substantiated, but they did want more handwritten investigation notes. So I'll be sending that off probably by Monday. We did get the licensure, I guess you could say tag. I did send a plan of correction for that. And the only thing left to do for that is make the payment. I believe they have an online portal, and if not, we may have to send a check. As far as safety committee, we did have our Quappy, we had our fire drill last month, and I believe you should have in front of you the RFP for the HVAC. Celebrations at the community, this month, the activity aids, they prepared a horse race. So they had, a night at the races. They played a derby game. So that was fun. The ladies had their hats and, they filled up they had gigantic dice. And so luckily nobody was betting with money. So, but, it was a good time. They all enjoyed it. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Adrian?
So, but I guess I would like to state, since our census did hit 51, that person in the hospital, we have gotten a authorization for her to come back. So our census will be hopefully 51, so that we do have to circle back with the bonus structure.
Okay. Any questions for Adrian? All right, moving on to 7.2, TCM.
Let's start with the March P&L. The March P&L shows a profit of $44,045. We averaged 45.5 total residents census in the month of March. Any questions? Now I can move on to the accounts receivable. The accounts receivable, this is for the month ending March 31st, is $1,245,687.27. We did break that out for a full year, Mr. Whalen.
I see that.
So it reads a little bit easier. It's not all lumped at the end.
Thank
Later in the agenda, there'll be about a request for about 13,000 of write-offs, which will all come off that oldest category. Any questions on the AR?
I will just say, I'm gonna probably send you guys an email. I'd like to we really need to figure out how to start getting this moving, in my opinion. And again, I know that may be just my opinion, but I'd like to understand why some of this isn't coming in, some of the more pertinent detail behind it. Like when I look at the 105,796 from March or before, that's over a year old. It may be qualified, and maybe there's some reasoning behind that, but we need to figure out how to get it moving into the pocketbook, not sitting out there anymore. I would suffice it to say anything at least older than 120 days, we got to figure out how to make this move. Because I would like to get you guys paid. I would like to get our other bills paid. And in my view, until we do that, until we get this revenue moving more quickly, so I'd like to kind of change the focus. P&L is fine, if you want to keep doing that, but I would suggest to this committee that we really focus on how we can help, if there's any way that we can, to help push harder on getting this stuff in the books and completed and shorten that cycle. That cycle's got to shrink or we're never going to catch up, in my opinion. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to send you a list of questions that I've been working through that as we go forward, I would appreciate it if you consider addressing on all the outstanding and older revenue. So we can really try and focus in on that if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
We look forward to your email. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, I did bring, I don't think it was attached to the packet. We meant for it to be attached, but might have been lost in the shuffle here. I have an email I'd just like to read because I know that you hear me like a broken record every month, talk about how complicated Medicaid is and all these insurance companies. And so I could probably literally bring 1,000 examples, but I just want to bring one just to shed a little bit of light, a little bit more detail. And I'm not saying that, anyone in this room is going to understand most of this, but I want to at least read it. So there was an email originally sent to one of our accounts receivable specialists. There was a notice that was received at the nursing home about a bill that looked like there was a denial and a credit and all that. So the question to our AR specialist was, basically, what's up with this? So I'll just read verbatim. Let's see. Yes, I have already let Jennifer, that's the bookkeeper, BOM, I've already let Jennifer know the issue with the Meridian portal and this claim prior to the facility receiving a remit, the letter. It would not allow the code 50 to save because it required a start and end date. It will also not allow you to enter the same date. At the same time, we could not send claims through claims management, so I called Meridian, and they did not understand why it would not allow, but suggested to submit without a date for it to process. I then had to follow up with the corrected claim and the 50 category added, which is actually in a pending status now. I did call to verify, and it is currently pending. I did discuss with Adrian 2 weeks ago that Meridian is still processing claims multiple times on some occasions, or due to using the same payer ID. As far as a credit on December, she's not looking at that correctly. The credit is on August, and it is on one that Meridian needs to take back. They processed a claim as they were supposed to managed care, and then forwarded it to Medicaid and processed it there as well. This is not something we did or have any control over. We only submitted it once. They auto-crossed it in error on their end, again, likely due to the ongoing change issues. The change issues were, we talked about this 2 months ago, there was a hack nationally for, I'm sure a lot of us have heard it, the administration is looking at Hammer United and all their subsidiaries over that, but the change issues took about 6 weeks to fix, let's put it that way, and they are fixed now, but Change Healthcare is what it is. And so that really just screwed up things nationwide. And a lot of buildings are not back to normal yet, but our building is. So I don't know, that sounded like a weird email, but the point is, it's every claim, this is one claim. There are times when we bill correctly and things get messed up on the other end. And so, yeah, definitely look forward to your email. I'd love to see what you're looking for, see what we can do. But this truly is the most insidious system of billing in the country, Illinois.
Do we have any recourse with the state to say, look, these managed care outfits are not performing at the level we need them to in order to run this nursing center? Have we had any discussions with?
There is some recourse. They are obligated to pay within 60 days of a clean claim. Now that's where they jump through their loophole. For example, this is not deemed a clean claim. And if they don't pay within 60 days of a clean claim, we are allowed to charge interest and make a complaint to Medicaid. So there is some recourse, and it's worth sending.
So do we do that? Do we charge them interest when they don't pay the claim within 60 days? If we view it as a clean claim and they don't, or?
We have not charged anything yet, but I don't know that we have anything in that category.
Okay.
Again, their loophole is they send it back and say it's not a clean claim. And we don't have much recourse over that, unless we got an email that said it is a clean claim, and then a second one that
Yeah, I
said it isn't.
understand that. Yeah. That's the part I don't understand about this whole process, is this whole idea of using all these managed care outfits to handle all this. It just seems to muddle the thing up even worse than it already is, so I get that.
So the reimbursement, so let's say just generically a Medicaid resident who has Medicaid, The reimbursement is about 40% less if they're straight Medicaid versus one of these managed care companies. So there is an incentive to use the managed
Yeah,
care.
wow, okay.
And
Somebody'd have to explain to me
word
the
I use. But, cash flow,
So,
go ahead, Adrian, sorry.
okay, so since you're still on the, AR, so, from the facility level, we're working on the triple check to be able to make sure that at the facility level, everything is accurate and as complete. So they did send us down the triple check process, and I guess from my perspective, the frustration is, we want to make sure, like, especially now that they have, like 7, 8 Medicare, we want to make sure that everything is right, because it's like, for example, the qualifying stay is not correct, then you go through all this, you bill at the beginning of the month, it's a date error, and now it gets kicked back. It was a simple fix, and so now you gotta bill it back. So, like, I don't know, traditional Medicare, now it's taking twice as long, right? Because they kicked it back. So are we looking at 60 days?
No, Medicare is actually 14 to 21 days from the date of a clean bill. It's Medicaid and all the
Okay.
MMAI that are 60 days.
So when I'm looking at the AR that they just sent over, the aging, and so when I look at the AR on the left to see the name of, are you talking about the Med A Meridian, or are you talking about all meridians? Because there's a few different types of meridian, right?
Right, all non-Med A ones.
Or, okay, all right. So, and I'm just gonna say, I haven't worked in Matrix in a minute, right? So it takes a little bit of time to get accustomed and, like, learn how the reports, and we're working together as a building to make sure that everybody understands, the admission, her role as far as putting in, the qualifying stay, understanding when they go out and they come back, making sure, working with the business office manager, that the qualifying stay is correct, because when we then run the reports at the facility, then we can see the error codes, and then we can go ahead and correct them before it gets to billing, and then you guys send out the claim. So that's a lot of moving parts, and I know that I get a different advertisement from Matrix as far as, setting up the collection. I don't know, I think they have classes on, like, revenue cycle, like understanding it, how to make sure you've got a clean claim. And at this point, with my frustration with, if I put things in one area, it doesn't transpose all the way through the medical record. I think it's because it's not set up completely. And from my understanding, Matrix, they've got like 75 hours of bank training hours. So at this point, in order to try to understand this and make sure that that EMR system is doing what it needs to do, I just want to talk about it. I think we should move forward and have Matrix start setting up the different modules so it's more user friendly. And I'll give you an example. When a new resident comes in, there is a list of assessments that the nursing team needs to do. When I open it up in, let's say, in another building, because I actually have a screenshot with the training before, there's maybe 6 or 7 assessments. When the nurses here open that up, they've got like 4 different pain assessments. They don't know which one to go into. And so that's not good for them, that's not good for the residents, that's not good for us. It's causing confusion, and it's not letting them be able to focus on the resident instead of trying to decipher which way to go. So I think at this point, with the, you know, the issues with, if the bill was wrong at the facility level, making sure the reports are accurate, making sure the nurses, what the assessments they need to do is very explanatory, and there is a workflow. I think that we should move forward and have them start setting up, whether it's helping me clean up the assessment, the observation, or setting up the collections piece. Because I know that from the building level, Jennifer she's also talking to families regarding, what's outstanding, receiving a check, converting, those that are on a skilled stay over to Medicaid. So I think that we're not utilizing the software to its potential. I mean, and I know they sent me, months ago, the percentage of what was being used, and really that's a waste of money because we're not using it the way we should be using it.
Okay, so I would recommend that we put that on the agenda for our Monday call. A lot of what you just said is correct. So it's a much more detailed conversation. So why don't we talk about it as a group on Monday?
Okay.
Thank you. Cash flow. So due to this Change Healthcare thing that we kind of just talked through, April, we probably fell about 115,000 short of what we normally collect because of all this delay in billing. So I think we collected about 337,000 and we should have collected 440 or so. And we're on track for 485 for May and probably more. So that money's not lost. It's just that between May and June, we'll catch it all up. So if anyone has seen the accounts payable reports fall further behind dollar-wise, that we get from the treasurer, that's one of the main reasons that we fell about 110,000 short in April. But as I said, we'll catch up at least half of that in May and the other half in June. And it won't be till the end of the year till we get our tax levy. We're going to be, same thing month to month. Although July should start loosening up a little bit because hopefully we'll have all our liability insurance paid off by then, and then we get a summer relief. But still thinking by the end of the year we're going to be very close to breaking on the AP report, which is the barometer. Any questions on that?
I have a question. So hello?
Yeah,
No,
we're
you're
here.
Oh, I thought I lost it. So when I was filling that stuff out for the auditors for the Medicare and Medicaid cost report, is there any benefit to writing things off sooner versus later? Is there any kind of tax benefit to be able to get things off your books?
No. The Medicare and Medicaid cost reports, by way of reimbursement anyway, they don't take income into account at all. It's only expenses, which is not for every nursing home in Illinois, just for the county-owned not-for-profits.
Makes perfect sense.
And that's why some county nursing homes have failed because, again, the reimbursement is there, but if you don't collect your receivables, then that's where things fall apart because you don't get reimbursed for non-collected receivables. So no, there's no, and again, county's not for profit, so it's not as though writing off something December 31st versus January 1st is going to make any accounting There's not gonna be any advantage because you get a write-off and you get a tax break. It's not taxable anyway.
So then is that Medicare, Medicaid cost report consistent the first time I worked for, a government facility? So the Medicaid rate that they'll get next year is gonna be determined based on that report?
Correct.
And so then we would want the cost of what it ran, of running the facility to be obviously as much as possible, because that's how the Medicaid rate for next year is gonna be. So, for example, whatever it cost the facility the year before, then you wanna stay at least at that, or if not more, in order to keep the Medicaid rate that you have now. Is that correct?
That's a correct statement, yes. But again, you can only report what the actual expenses were for 2023. But you are correct in your assumption. If our expenses went down and our census stayed the same, then our rate will go down. If our expenses went up, our census stayed the same, our rate will go up. And there's some other variables
Okay.
if the census changed.
Well, and I'm only saying because, I'm still trying to navigate the CIC portal, software, and trying to figure out how to run reports to be able to make sure that we capture everything that was paid, to make sure that it doesn't get missed, and, the statement, whatever is on that report is accurate. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right.
Okay, any additional questions?
Man,
Yes.
I will just a quick comment, as I look through this, without April being on there, if we could somehow, pull this revenue cycle in to even 120 days, that total that's outstanding, over 120 days without April on there is 386,008. We owe TCM currently 372,637.
I understand it's in our best interest.
I'm just saying.
I look forward to your email.
That's why I want to, I want to try and make that a focus.
Yeah, again, without getting into the details.
Yes,
When we
understood.
get your email, we'll be able to explain better.
But I'm just trying to be honest about why that troubles me. I want to get you guys paid. I don't like seeing a bill of that size. So, thank you.
Bill, did you have something?
Yes, July 1st, refreshed my memory that we were probably gonna have an extra $50,000 each month because of something coming up or not, or.
Right, the liability insurance, which is kind of front loaded, ends, I think, June 30th is the last payment, assuming we can catch up with that 110,000 from last month. Then that can get paid, and starting July 1st, there won't be a liability payment until November, December, or the end of the year.
So that's about $50,000
A month.
a month till November, then next,
Yeah, so probably two to 250,000, and plus tax levy,
okay,
so.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on to 8.0 old business, review and approval of missions and marketing director bonus plan. So this failed last month, we brought it back. Do you have any discussion on?
I had a discussion with the affected employee that would lead me to believe that the motion that I made last month would be just fine. And we got confirmation from our liability outfit that we need to have a mutual agreement. Let me do this. Let me make the motion first and then we can discuss it. I'm gonna move similarly to what I did last month, which is to bonus the employee at $1,000 a piece up to 50, and then 3,500 at 55 and 3,500 at 60 in terms of the census. That is my motion.
Do I have a
Second.
by Mr. Bush? Any discussion?
So I did have actually a verbal agreement with the individual on that after I met with them last week or 2 weeks ago. And it does state here in the opinion that we got that there needs to be a mutual agreement on that. My one question that I had for you guys, did you know why this didn't get put forward to the employee the day they started? Why we didn't cover that previously? Because it's, there was a lag because we were so far from the 50 mark or 46 mark at the time. I think we were sitting around 37 maybe when she started. But I was just surprised when I thought about it after discussing it with the person, that wasn't ready to go when they started.
I don't know sitting here right now, but I have to do some research.
So if you wouldn't mind, because that's something to me that would, as a person starting a new position like that with something in my contract, I mean, to me, it would have been on me. Hey, what's the structure of this thing? It might be there. But I knew darn well when I started my current job, what my bonus was going to be every month, and I had no doubts about what that was going to be. So I was surprised to hear that, but they seem very agreeable to that structure. So, and again, from what I see here, at least from a liability standpoint, we are at liberty to change that as long as it's mutually agreed to. So that would be my comments.
Chairman?
Can you restate your motion, please? I'm
I,
not seeing what you just said reflected in the packet. Is that correct?
I did not have
All right.
what Mr. Whalen presented verbally last month in the packet because it was not typed up, so I didn't.
All right, so could you restate it, please?
I move, let me back up. Since the bonus structure equals the amount of $12,000 that the employee agreed to be hired in at that level for a performance bonus that did not have any definition in the employee document when that person was hired. I move that from 46 to 50 in each additional census. We bonus that individual $1,000 for a total of $5,000. And then at the census of 55, they receive a $3,500 bonus. And in the census of 60, they receive an additional $3,500 bonus to, in effect, pay them the $12,000 performance bonus with the overall goal of getting to a census of 60. Are you in agreement, Mr. Bush, with that?
Yes.
Second?
Mr. Hanley, do you have a comment?
Do we have, we have a verbal from her. Do we have an email from her that she'll accept this?
No.
But that's my concern, are you aware of this, Mike?
No, but if the employee is agreeable to that format, I don't think we stand in the way.
No, I just was wondering if you heard anything. I'm all in support. I'm happy that you went out and done that, that just shows that board members can go out and do things like that now. So you set a good policy to go out and do something. So hopefully if somebody thinks of something like that, can go and talk to an employee,
Well, actually, I spoke to Jeannie. She was the one that came to me and brought me the offer letter, which it stated, I think the wording was a bonus for productivity. And so productivity could mean many things.
Right.
And so then we put something together. TCM explained how it's $1,000 for every resident over the budgeted census, which was 45. And so then I explained it to Jeannie, and she said, that would be fine. I did mention that, they might restructure it with over 50, make it a more substantial bonus, but it would be based on, a larger, a different census structure. So it'd be 5 versus 1. And she did agree. So, yeah.
Okay.
We're right there.
I have a follow-up question. What happens when we hit 60? and get more people and then.
That's it. I mean,
That's
that's all that was agreed to in this round. I mean,
So
that it
then-
could be, I would imagine, negotiated for a new bonus next year if we want to shoot for 80 or something like that, Bill. But
Okay,
that's gonna be up to the administrator and TCM and whoever's running the thing at the time. This was just what was agreed to in her offer letter when she started. So I don't know that there's a time limit on that, if I remember right.
Well,
I don't
I
remember
think
the time
there's a
limit.
cap. The cap is 12,000.
In a year, yeah.
So,
well, thank you for going out and doing that.
yeah, yep.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's someone I know personally too, so I wasn't aware of that at the time when I went to meet with her, so.
Okay,
I have a question. Yes, I can. What does she make a year?
50 something, I think, 56, if I remember right, on the
And
offer
her offer
letter.
letter was in the packet last month.
Yeah,
56.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I
in the
think-
packet.
but she's obviously, well, yeah, things are improving out there, so I'll just leave it at that.
Do we pay bonuses out for anything else besides census?
It's a good question. Not some though.
We have a few in the budget. We haven't paid anything else out, but we do have some listed in the budget.
What about star rating? If the star rating increases, do any
Well, we
bonuses
paid
get
bonuses to TCM last year, 200,000 for profitability and there was another one for the star rating. It was another 20, 30,000.
Cause I just noticed if star rating went up to 2. 3?
We are at 3 officially
Okay.
in all categories, yeah.
Now, before it went down to 1, but it went back up. So what happened there?
So it started at 1, went to 2, it went back to 1 because the state was claiming that there was something called a staffing star, which is part of the calculation. And we send in what's called a payroll-based journal report, PBJ report, every quarter. And sometimes the state will send back an email to the administrator and asking for more information. They literally just did that on the one we just submitted. And so we given back whatever. Adrian forwarded it to us and we followed up on it. But they sent it to the administrator back in December and never got answered. We never knew about it.
So you did send one in.
Oh yeah, we sent in the report, but we didn't send in a follow-up to their questions because we didn't know about the email. It doesn't come to us, it comes to the administrator. It's actually a prior administrator, not Adrian. So that's why it went back down to 1 for 3 months because we got a NA mark in the staffing star area. And then that 3 months was up and staffing star went back up to 3 and our health inspections went up to 3 and our quality measures went up to 3. So we are at a solid 3 right now. The reason it went back down is because of that unanswered audit email.
Right, and currently they're preparing or gathering the information for this audit for the last submission, right? Yeah.
Yes.
okay,
One last one. I think what Mr. Bush was getting at was if it goes down to 2 and goes back up to 3, if you already made the bonus for 3, you're not gonna claim the second bonus for going back up to 3.
Well,
Is that
we
correct?
made the bonus going from 1 to 2.
Right,
So our next plateau will be 3.
that's what I'm saying though, but if it drops back down to 2 for whatever reason, you would, and then it goes back up to 3, you would not then claim another bonus for getting it to 3.
My interpretation of our agreement is that whatever it is on December 31st of every year, that's the measurement. So last year was at 2,
Right.
so it would have to be at 3 or higher on December 31st.
Okay. But it's a one-time thing.
Correct.
Thank you.
okay,
But to answer the bonus, there are some bonuses that are, one for like the DON, one for the administrator, that are in the budget. Just discretionary at this point. There's no formal format for them.
okay, so any additional before we take a vote?
Just one more quick question. So we have a document that she'll sign and then our nursing home administrator will sign. So there's signatures on.
I believe once we agree to that, we need to
Yeah.
create that and have Adrian
Okay.
present that to her and get it signed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, is this something that needs to go to the board, 15,000? I don't,
12.
I mean,
12,000.
12,000, it's over 10,000.
But it's
It is in the budget.
Yeah, it's a budgeted
Okay,
expense.
that's fine,
And it's not-
you know,
one payment, and at this point, we've earned
Right.
up to.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the
The
question.
max payment's 3,500, which she can approve.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So 4-1. All right, 8.2, discussion and approval of engagement letter with Markham LLC. So we did hear back from both Sickage and Whiffley. So both of the firms confirmed that they believe that we do not need an additional audit and that our single audit for the PRF for the nursing home is not needed.
I would really caution you on pushing them for something in writing that they will be held accountable for. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in my opinion, they are 100% wrong. This is a very specific, narrow audit that the rules didn't even come out to until recently. So how could those audits cover it from a logic perspective? So I would really encourage you because, I think it was what, 296,000 or something, I forgot the exact amount. That is at risk.
Okay, they said that the single audit fulfills all of that, so I'm not too sure, but we will.
Do you
reach
have something? Yeah, I would
I mean,
get
we have
some,
emails, but we can go back with them and recheck.
yeah, I would get an official opinion letter from them that says that, a recommendation, and that it references the specific audit.
Yeah, that's a good
being
idea.
requested.
I have a follow-up question. So, for some reason, we don't do the right things, they can come back to the county and say, we want that money back because you didn't do the proper paperwork and stuff, correct, or?
Correct. It has no bearing at that point on whether you spent the money or not. It's that you didn't comply with the audit in a timely fashion. A technical disqualification, yes.
Wonderful federal government.
We sure don't want that burden hold over us.
We'll reach out tomorrow.
Continue that just again next month and get that confirmation.
Okay, so we'll bring that back. Just continue until we get full confirmation. 9.0, approve, new business. Approval of the RFP and for the HVAC rooftop replacement units for Stephenson Nursing Center. So I hope everybody had a chance to review it. I will make a motion as I do have some adjustments, so if I get a second, I will discuss those.
So,
By Mr. Bush. Okay, so discussion. They're very minor. So the issue date on the RFP is for the 4th. And that needs to be tomorrow because that's the date that it's gonna be posted. The proposal date or proposal due is marked as June 12th. I would like to see that as June 10th, just because the packet, it goes out for the June month, the June cleaning month, the next day. So that way we can have it, bids go in for the packets to the committee to review. So if you wanna, so the next one is the public opening. If we can do that either June 10th or the morning of the 11th.
You'll need to do it the 11th. Can't do it the same day that you have the.
Okay.
Due date.
Other than that, you did an excellent job.
Thank you, Jordan. All right, so May 10th, June 10th, and June 11th are my new date, updated dates.
Okay, that way,
Any other,
I don't think, unless the committee has any additional information with the RFP.
That will be 30 days open then.
Oh, yeah.
Really not
I
tomorrow.
have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I read the thing too fast. Did we say to the, in RFP, how many units we need or?
I think we're looking at, I think we need that assessment. We need an expert opinion on what the recommendation would be because the units, the majority of the units, I believe all of them are difference in age, but anywhere from, I don't have the report in front of me, but 15 to 28 years old.
I believe Wally, maybe you can help me out, Ms. Chairman, Wally gave us a sheet showing the age of each unit, how many units. Maybe we can attach that to the RFP, you know, so the contractors know what they're looking at.
I was just gonna say, and if I remember correctly, when I was reading the RFP, when Denise sent me the draft, it does say they can go out and physically inspect.
Okay,
We want them to do
but it
that.
might help with Wally's paperwork, you know,
I-
attach it at least so they have an idea, you know, and then they can go up there because Wally's pretty accurate on these things. So. That's all, thank you.
You all know where to post it? Website, newspaper, local newspaper, and all of the processes? Okay.
Can you help me with that?
I will help you with that tomorrow morning, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, 9.2, review and approval of bad debt write-off, Q1 2024, in the total amount of $13,340.09.
So we're recommending this write-off, 10,500 or so is, from May of 22, a month before we took over. And then, about 2,800 or so is attached to, June and July, the first couple months that we took over.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Bush, any discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
It would be really good, because I know none of this looks like it's private pay except for that top, the Medicare private pay. I would assume that's because they hadn't made it on Medicare yet, maybe, but it'd be nice to have a little bit more detail on here as to why that didn't get paid, or what the process was, you know, it was submitted incorrectly, or it was, we've tried 16 times to get it paid, they just won't do it, or, because just listing that, it doesn't really give us much detail to make a good decision on.
If you bear with me, I can find that. We have, we try not to put too much, especially patient names and things.
No, yeah, not
But the
the
reasons,
patient
yeah,
information, but yeah, like, the more detail, the better on stuff like this, it's just, in my view.
There we go. All right, the first one, again, was from May of 22. Did not obtain payer information timely.
So why wouldn't that have been included in one of the other write-offs previously, since it's that whole? You know why that wouldn't have been lumped in with the rest?
No,
I'm
it's-
just curious,
It's
because
very possible that we did get paid for this person, and they only went back to a certain date.
okay,
And so we had to wait to see how far back they would go.
okay,
That's most likely what happened there. The second one was came in Medicare, and then the second year was private pay. Resident ran out of days, but stayed at the facility, longer than they had funds for.
gotcha.
So it was a write-off. Third one was there was an incorrect, managed care, United Healthcare number obtained, the family gave, which screwed up the billing basically. And tried billing the family, but they didn't really sign the contract, so they're not on the hook.
Okay.
It's the resident themselves. The 442-hour one was just no information obtained. It was a managed care person, came in for, I think, 1 day, and then left. And then same thing with the last one, 1 day, Medicaid, and left.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But we'll put at least some notes on.
That would be great. Yeah, in the future, if you would. Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 9.3, discussion of Illinois Associations of County Board Members, County Nursing Home Committee. All of you received an email that they are requesting that a board member represent the county in this meeting on May 15th, which is next Wednesday. Is there any discussion on that? Does anybody have any discussion they want to talk about?
Are you doing that?
I could. Or is there somebody else?
I think in this situation, he should be the chairman.
Yeah, I move that Nicole Baker represent us in that capacity at that meeting.
Second.
Okay,
There's no action.
Good,
No
no
action.
action.
Oh, okay.
so, all right, well then moving on. 9.4, discussion of hiring process of the administrator. So this was asked to be put on the agenda. I just want to go briefly over the current process. So the current process, if a candidate is brought forward from anybody, from TCM, any agency, the credentials should be sent over to the administrator office. She will then set up an informal conversation, with the chairman and the administrator. Then after the conversation is done, if they choose to move forward, they will then come forward into a meeting with 3 people, myself, Mr. Bush, and Ray Ann Miller from the county administrator's office. We will do an interview. We will then brief everybody, and then if they choose to continue this process, they will be brought forward from the committee. And then on to the full board to be interviewed.
So I think just a couple questions, a statement first. I think the process is hindering getting a qualified administrator in. We've had a couple people that withdrew because the process was too long. And so, I mean, the ask here is, of course, that the first line of fire is here for an interview, and then if it passes through here, it goes to the big board. That's the statement. The question that I have is, I'm not sure that process was followed with 2 candidates that we wanted to actually be interviewed at this meeting tonight. They both went through the first 2 processes. I don't think we ever got feedback on these 2 candidates. So I think there was a breakdown in the process.
So the first candidate did go through the second part and was not selected to come to the board or to the committee.
Was that ever communicated to us?
It was, because we had a meeting about, I should have looked up the meeting minutes, but it is in the minutes. Then the second candidate that you wanted to bring forward did withdrew because he had a second offer and he chose that offer. So he did not get to meet with the interview committee. So my question is when did you find that out that he was re-interested in interviewing back with us? Or interested in the position?
About a week ago.
So did
We
you
reached
send,
out to him.
okay, but did you send the credentials over to the administrator office to set up that meeting? Because he could have went through the process, that's a week away, and we could have put him on the agenda.
Right, back to the original statement then. We have found that process has not been very timely all the time, let's put it that way. And it's hindering finding someone that.
Madam Chair, I disagree, but you got a right to your opinion. I'm not going, down there, but I think that we did what we could. I'm just speaking for me. The thing of it is with me, I'm looking for somebody that we know that's gonna be there because this becoming to be a revolving door. The first candidate I really wasn't too excited about because he was in retail for over 40 some years and now he wanted to come and try to manage a nursing home with no experience at all. The second candidate, I wasn't too high on that at all. Be honest with you, I like the previous. I like who we have now. Even though she's interim, But, and plus also too, she's a lot less than what we had with the previous administrator. So until we can really find a good candidate, if you got somebody else that we could interview, I'm quite sure we will sit down and interview. And I mentioned that before. I'm not just gonna go and interview one person, not offering that to the other person that we interviewed too. Yeah. So, like I said, you got a right, you have your right to your own opinion, but then this is my opinion.
So what did you mean by this administrator is a lot less than the prior administrator? You mean financially?
Financially, right.
That's a false statement.
Well,
Numbers don't lie, Mr. Bush.
but see, the previous one was on a county payroll to where this one is
I'm
not.
adding 25% benefits.
To where this one is not. The previous one gets a lot of things connected into that. I mean, because after all, like you mentioned about the one that we have now is hardly there. With the previous one, she was getting paid $8,000 and was over in France or everywhere else.
So let me ask you a question. Why are we not making the current administrator an offer to be the permanent administrator? I'm not saying she would take it or not, but service it.
Well, you know what? Yeah,
Why
I'm
are we
glad.
not?
I'm glad you brought that up because that was my thinking. In fact, I did express that we should at least offer her the position because we all are in agreement. We do need a permanent administrator, but we need the right one. We need somebody that's going to be here because this can't be no revolving door. And also, too, we don't need no yes person.
So the other
So
thing.
can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, so anytime there's an administration change, right? It does cause, the building a little bit, it turns it upside down sometimes, depending on the incoming administrator. And so, you guys do need a permanent person. Unless you've got a helicopter in the budget, right? It's not work-life balance for me. I love what I do, and if you found somebody, I'd be more than willing to work with them for, a couple weeks, kind of give them, there's no need to do the digging, we've already done it. And the idea is to, kind of just take it from there. Interim administrators, we're all different. It's a lot of work depending on the community, but it is fulfilling, and I feel that I'm approachable enough where if you thought you had somebody that was, some communities have like an assistant administrator, maybe they could take some sort of manager role, try it out for a month or two. I mean, I'll be honest, within 30 days, you'll know if they're gonna make it or not. It's just my opinion.
So
Thank you.
I'd also like to say that I think that one of the biggest rubs here is the differences of opinions in what is that administrator that we need at this building. And so there's probably 10 different types. Well, let's cut it into 2 different portions. An administrator, super, and handle everything. I think Mr. Whalen, you said it before, you want someone that can take the reins and run the show. And then there's the administrator that doesn't concentrate on the whole show. Concentrates on patient care, concentrates on employee satisfaction, meeting with families, running the non-financial side of the business. And so that first administrator, he or she just doesn't exist anymore. An administrator who has to deal with everything is much more than a 40-hour-a-week job. And it's just not possible. The business has gotten too complicated for one person to do everything. Now, can that person hire people underneath them, to be financial gurus and clinical gurus? Yes. But this county, along with many counties, does not have a good track record with retaining administrators. And so if you go the route of going all in on a super administrator, when that administrator leaves, you go from top to bottom, you just bottom out of it. And you ruin the consistency of the building. The administrator that we believe this building needs is someone who is, more attentive to the patient care, as I said, residents, the families, and just, doesn't have to deal with all the other things, legal issues, all the things that an administrator shouldn't have to do on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's where the rub is here. And if you're looking for super administrator, and that's the only person who's gonna get past the first 2 interviews, and then there's no reason to continue to look, because the person doesn't exist.
Well, Mike, I have to beg to differ. So, in different buildings that I've worked in, so the administrator, I guess you could say, is the CEO. They are financially responsible, right? Census, they are the driver of census. And trust me, I don't want to be part of the finances. I did not like accounting, and I don't understand the AR when I look at it. Like, when I look at a credit, I don't understand. Does that mean we're paying it back? So I want the building to succeed, and I think it only benefits us if, we can partner. But the liability here falls on me, because if something goes wrong in the building, then, who's licensed, right? The nurses, the administrator. I mean, you guys are the management company, so you are a bit removed from that. And as far as patient care, I can tell you that I worked with Cheryl while she was here, and I am not a nurse, but I know what a nurse needs to do her job. To be in this business, you do have to have somewhat thick skin, I guess you could say. And at the end of the day, I want good patient care. It definitely, recruitment has to be there. We need retention, right? Employee satisfaction. And so it's, like I said, when I interviewed with the board, I do interim work because it's exhausting, because you have to do everything and you have to know about everything in the building. So my salary is not all the department head salary. But yet I can't go ahead and help them develop. I don't know everything, and if I don't know it, we'll work on it together. But my problem with the finances is the amount of notices that I get, the amount of calls that I get. I almost don't answer because I already know why they're calling me. So I feel bad, and it's not personal, but it's like when I'm getting shut off notices and we're between 2 of us, we're going through the mail, making sure that we didn't miss anything. I mean, it's very stressful, I will say. So again, it's not personal, and I don't want to be in the finances, but at the end of the day, you guys rely on us to bring up the census, right? So I'm relying on you to bring in the money.
I think you just made my point. Thank you, Adrian.
Chairman?
So I think what we need to do, this is on the agenda for the committee to discuss the process. Discuss the process, get a consensus, move forward with whatever that is.
Okay.
Well, I want to follow up on this discussion of the process. So, Mike, what do you think the process in day-wise should be? 30 days, 60 days, what are you looking at? Turnaround time, what would you like to see? If you bring a candidate forward.
Yeah, 30 days from the day we bring the candidate forward.
And I think that can be accomplished, but we would have to call special meetings, to get this accomplished. I agree with Mike, the longer we wait in the process, some people are out looking for jobs, you know? So I guess my question also is, are we just counting on Mike to bring candidates forward, or are we doing anything at the county level advertising this position all the time?
We have other agencies.
It's on Indeed.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's on Indeed
Yeah.
and, because
And the website is currently under construction, so it's not on the, it would typically be on the website.
And who do they contact?
Indeed is through the recruiting from TCM.
Okay,
They get, vetted, well, I'll say, before they get passed on to the next level.
so is there some way that we can get the process moving a little faster than, I agree with Mike, it could be upwards of 60 days with this process. If we can get it down to 30 days, get them in, interviewed, get it, if we have to call special meetings for the committee, we gotta call special meetings. But, when somebody's out looking for a job, they're got multiple people they're looking at. And, if we're dragging ourselves 60 days out, somebody's gonna, take the job where it's at, so can we get this process moving a little faster?
we could.
Like,
But like I go back, if you knew a week ago and you could have reached out, we could have interviewed her or him, and then we could have got him on this meeting, then onto the board. It's gotta go onto the board anyways. Denise?
So could I make a suggestion of, going back to Chairman Helm's thought of like the process? So right now, we start with, just say TCM, Denise and Mike interview, Georgia and Scott meet the candidate, then the interview committee interviews the candidate, and then the committee,
Correct.
the nursing home committee interviews the candidate, and then the board interviews the candidate. Could we take Georgia, Denise, Mike, Scott, Mr. Bush, Nicole, Rayanne, could we do an interview with the candidate and then move them to committee? So that it's one meeting all together. We can collaborate with our questions. We can each, divide and conquer, right? We've got a list of 15 things that we want to ask. Everyone's responsible for asking 2 of the questions. We take our notes. Afterwards, we convene, and is this somebody that we feel we can pass on to the committee, bring in front of the committee? And maybe that helps I feel like where these candidates are coming from 6 interviews later. And sometimes, I think when Scott and Georgia and I were talking, it was like at TCM, sometimes they've met with Charles from a marketing perspective. They've met with Michelle from a clinical perspective. So we've tried to group ours together just to expedite, but maybe that would help if we all came together for that first interview.
Sure.
And then it's only 3.
We'll give it a
right?
try.
I like
All in the
the
process.
like to follow up. I think that's a great idea. It gets the process moving faster. It gets everybody in a bigger group with the professionals. And, yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'd like to see that move forward.
Okay, you have another comment?
I would just add a couple of small things. I agree. I think trying to eliminate 1 step in that process makes a lot of sense. I don't see any, as long as you guys can work out the logistics, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I would support that. The only 2 other things I would say is I agree with what Mr. Filippo said earlier. It's hard to find one person that can do everything. I get that nowadays. But I also agree with the statement Avery made, that at least from my perspective, that person needs to be kind of a CEO mentality, that they have to have an understanding of what's going on there. I think part of what has happened, at least at our facility to this point, is you've got a couple other folks. Now, I didn't get a chance to meet with the nursing director out there, but from a finance standpoint and admission standpoint, you got some quality people in those 2 positions now that we can work with. And whoever takes Adrian's position can work with and not have to probably be, completely endeavored in those roles on a everyday basis, and can focus on other things, which is a really good thing, in my opinion. But we certainly need someone, and I agree with the statement Mr. Bush made earlier, that is gonna stick around, is gonna be dedicated to what we're trying to do and accomplish with that home. So I'm not so worried about the amount of time it takes to hire somebody and find somebody as I am about the quality of the person that I hire. And that they're gonna be the person that's gonna take the reins, however that looks, right? Whatever skills they bring to the table and are able to lead that effort out there. So, again, I know it's a shorter cycle nowadays and it's not an easy thing. Mike, I agree with that. And the quicker we can make that turn, the better. So I would certainly support the move to try and shorten the cycle, for what Mr. Hadley just brought up, so.
All right,
I guess, do you need a motion for that? We don't really have
It's
anything
not
to
a
motion for that, so I think you have a consensus there. No, yes?
all right, moving on to public comment, 10.0. Seeing none, 11.0 adjournment.
So moved.
By Mr. Bush, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Whalen?
Thanks, Adrian.
All those in favor say aye.
Have a good night.
Opposed?
Good night.
Motion carried.